This video is sponsored by KEKS, maker of the M Meter, purpose-built for Leica's classic non-metered 35mm film M's. It is my favorite meter for them, the meter I use with my own M3. Check them out by clicking on the link down in the show notes below. And if you like what you see, save 15% by using the discount code HUGH at checkout. Thanks, KEKS. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today I want to do a quick follow-up on our recent Budget Gourmet Leica M3 episode with a closer look at the KEKS M Meter. It is my favorite metering solution for any non-metered Leica M. I use it myself on my M3. So I'm chuffed, actually, that the sponsor of today's video is KEKS. It is at once a lovely homage to Leica's own 1960s-era MC and MR shoe-mounted meters, right down to its physically coupled shutter speed dial for shutter priority metering, yet a more accessibly priced, functionally superior tool. It's a doddle to set up and works surprisingly well. The hardest part of the setup was having the dexterity to lift the spring-loaded shutter speed dial on the M meter just long enough to slide it into my M3's cold shoe while making sure it coupled physically with the camera's own shutter speed dial, which took me all of 10 seconds or so, locked in positively, no slop, and I think it looks great. It effortlessly blends the design vocabulary of a 21st century device with a mid-century industrial design masterpiece sheathed in brass or aluminum. The M meter is also tiny. With the internal rechargeable lithium battery, it tips the scales at 46 grams. As you can see, minimalism is the order of the day. The 3 function buttons and single 1.3-inch OLED display don't offer the delicious analog experience of older meters, especially the MC and MR, but also mid-century handheld meters like my mother's selenium cell-equipped General Electric DW68. But I'm more than okay with this. When it comes to metering, less is more, and the M meter is about as no futz as you can get in this space. It is next level compared to the non-dedicated, non-coupled shoe-mounted meters I've perused in the past, again, with an actual brass or aluminum shell. And while it is extremely simple, in large part because it is basic, just like the M, it does allow you to A, set exposure compensation, very important, hold that thought. B, set minimum and maximum apertures so that it operates within the bounds of whatever lens you attach it to. And C, if your M shutter speed is a little funky, calibrate the two to account for, call it physical drift over half a century. You should be aware that the M meter reads brightness within a 30-degree field of view, just about that of a full-frame 75mm lens. This works well for me because this is essentially a center-weighted 60% of the field of view of the Summicron M50mm f2 that I basically have glued to my M3, hold that thought, yet also allows one to selectively meter with wider lenses as one becomes adept at properly assessing a scene's various brightness levels, hold that thought too. On the other hand, shooting ordinary scenes around the house, the M meter pretty well matched exactly the onboard metering of my Sony A7CR with Viltrox Air 50mm f2. Impressive, I think, for a simple external meter when compared to the Sony's through-the-lens metering with all of the exposure modes, processing power, and algorithms behind it. But where this kind of metering can fall down, I'm talking reflected light metering irrespective of whether it's built in or added on, is when composing for complicated scenes, characterized by wide dynamic range, unevenly distributed across the frame, and the objects or subjects of interest within. This is when we need to remember that multi-field this, highlight weighted that, matrix metering yabba dabba doo, they all rely on properly exposing 18% gray, and it is too often the case, in my experience, that interesting frames do not lend themselves to metering systems not psychic enough to know precisely what we want, especially on the street. Which is why Claudia and I almost always dial in the exposure triangle manually, shot to shot, as we roam among the glass, steel, and concrete canyons of New York. We rely on our own eyes, courtesy of the real-time exposure preview of modern EVFs, and the data we see within them, to quickly make trade-off decisions across shutter speed, aperture, and ISO that best comport with what we're trying to achieve, mindful of how much latitude and where we'll want it once we're back in front of our computers, because this, the edit, is where the magic happens. Then again, with sufficient experience, one can become adept at understanding how to see and account for complex scenes by combining the reciprocal rule of Sunny 16 with Ansel Adams' zone system, where zone 5 is 18% gray. A tip for doing this with what is essentially a center-weighted averaging meter pattern like the one in the M meter, without the need for the kind of spot meter favored by Adams: take a reading of the palm of your free hand, illuminated by the same light as your subject, and you're on your way. Joel Meyerowitz taught me that. As for me personally, too much futzing. What I've learned to do with the M meter is, fair enough, read the palm of my hand, but then, rather than the traditional advice to open up the aperture by a stop, because most palms aren't 18% gray, set the exposure value compensation on the M meter instead to minus a stop to compensate for some combination of my particular palm's reflectance and my preference for underexposing to protect highlights, even at the expense of crushed shadows. Not a guaranteed outcome, but so far, pretty darn good. I'll wrap it up this way. I think KEKS hit a home run with the M meter. It is purpose-built for non-metering M's, and that laser-like focus pays off. It integrates beautifully, functionally, and aesthetically with the M, full stop. Add in shutter speed priority and the ability to set exposure compensation plus or minus 3 stops to taste in 1/3 stop increments, and you're giving your non-metered M capabilities it just doesn't have on board. I do wonder if a future version might be able to store and recall the fields of view and aperture ranges for specific lenses to improve metering precision and reduce futzing. I wonder if maybe one additional control might make cycling through the few menu options even more intuitive. Finally, I wonder if a future iteration could come with longer battery life before needing a recharge, even though with a USB-C port, a cable long enough to reach one's pocket, and a small power bank, this would not be necessary, just a nice to have. The only metering limitations of the M meter are either inherent to any reflected light non-spot meter or a function of the lack of skill and knowledge of the photographer using it. I admit, I just refuse to go down the zone path. But the trade-offs the company has made to keep it so small and light, no incident light metering, no spot metering, no flash metering, relatively short battery life, in a package this good to look at, are well considered in my book. And at $120, 15% off of that by using the link in the show notes down below and using the discount code HUGH at checkout, well, I think the combination of a KEKS M meter atop a used M3, M2, or M4 series Leica is a far more accessibly priced approach than a used M6 or M7, while surrendering precious little. It opens up the world of Leica M film shooting, as close to the original non-metered M series camera experience as possible, only better, to many more of us. And for that, I can only close with, bravo, KEKS. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comments section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video call via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost you affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.